Tonight's species is found all around the state of Florida. They like structures, ledges, and artificial reefs, and one of our captain's specialty is guided charters for this week's theme. And guess what? She's here in the studio. So tonight we're talking about lobsters here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello, anglers and divers alike. We're back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report after a long holiday weekend celebrating Independence Day, and we hope most of you got out there fishing. You know, Rick, I was actually lucky enough to get out there with Captain Jim Ross and Dave Farrell in the Real Legend Central East region, and we had an amazing time. It was my birthday fish. We caught a permit off the wreck, and it was so fun.
That was your birthday trip.
It was my birthday trip, and I made the most of it. Dave caught a kingfish. That is Dave. We call him Ninja Dave with his buff on. It was a great time. And
so, I have one little quick question.
Quick, yeah.
Are you going to expense this trip because it was your birthday to me?
Of course I am. It was my present. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Happy birthday, Brie.
Thank you. Anyways, this week we're getting everyone prepped for Floridians' favorite holiday, lobster season. We've got our live studio audience joining us tonight, as well as a special guest from Berkeley Fishing, and Captain Sarah Stanzik from the YANMAR ASV Keys region is manning the CCA workbench for Dave today. Sarah, are you ready to tell us all about your favorite holiday?
Yes, I have the workbenches under control. I got a lot of cool things to show everyone, so check back in a little bit.
Okay, we're looking forward to it. And we're jumping right into the season in the R&R Tackle Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas, who knows no limits but the lobster limits. So Jimbo, get us started.
Hey, Bree, Sarah, Rick, and Dave, and everybody else in the studio there. You know, the reports that I've gotten are saying that there's quite a few lobsters out there. All the divers that I've spoken with that have been out scouting said it looks like it's going to be a good mini season. And hopefully it's a great lobster season on top of that. But in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they can do a lot of moving around. Now, the entire Southeast region is great for lobstering, but the further south you get, the better the lobstering gets. Now, we like to dive on the patch reefs and the isolated coral heads and ledges, anywhere from like 10 to 20 feet of water in Hawks Channel. The outside reef also holds a lot of lobsters, but they're usually more spread out, and they're also a lot heavier to catch in that heavier reef. Now, since the invention of GPS, there is no such thing as a secret spot, so it's not uncommon for somebody else to be sitting on that first spot when you get out there bright and early. So if that happens, show some proper lobster etiquette and move on to another spot. Now, we don't want to have any lobster wars, and I'm sure there will be some regardless. Now, I like to use a net and a tickle stick, and if there's a lot of lobsters on the spot when you hop in, work slowly so you don't spook them, otherwise they'll start to walk. And it's always a good idea to go after the biggest lobster of the bunch first. And after you catch a few, you can get a feel for which ones are legal and which ones are short. Now, with all the commotion of catching lobsters, it's also not uncommon for a nice hogfish or a grouper to show up, so keep that spear gun handy. And be sure to put up your dive flag, measure each lobster before putting it in the catch bag, and follow all those rules, because FWC is going to be out there in force. Now, I got a photo here. It's my brother Rick with a nice, fat, healthy Biscayne Bay lobster that we caught last season.
Nice.
Here we go.
Too bad they're not all that size, but only take the pictures of the big ones. Now, staying inshore, there's been a lot of permit on the Oceanside Flats from Soldiers Key south to Angelfish Creek. Look for tailing and cruising permit in anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water on the outgoing tide, and the best flats are going to be the ones that have fast-moving water. Try to get out there early in the morning when the light is good for sight fishing, and also before those afternoon showers set in. A small blue crab, either alive or dead, on light spin tackle with a 20-pound fluoro leader and a 2-0 hook cast in front of any permit will usually result in a bite. And they're also being caught on crab pattern flies. Now, moving offshore, dolphin are still very hit or miss. We've been heading offshore anywhere from 5 to 15 miles or so. And if you're lucky enough to find something good floating, it's a good shot that you'll have a nice catch of dolphin on it. Otherwise, there's been a lot of scattered sargassum weed with some bird activity over the schoolies. They haven't really been in schools, more like little packs, and even a lot of singles. Now, they've been getting bigger, but we still have been releasing a lot of shorts. And if the fish are traveling to the south, they're most likely going to be bigger than the schools going to the north. Seems like the little guys head north, bigger ones head south. Trolled ballyhoo and R&R mahi magnets have been taking some of these fish. And I like to keep a couple 20-pound spinners with 50-pound leaders and 5/0 hooks with live or cut bait ready. And that's what we cast once we locate those mahis. And then right now is a great time to get out there and catch some yellowtails, especially in the evenings when it's not 150 degrees out. Look for good bottom and 40 to 80 feet of water. Get anchored up and start chumming with ground chum and glass minnows. We like to have a light current. That it definitely helps get that chum slick going. Otherwise, your chum sinks straight down. Now, a light spinning outfit with 12 to 15-pound test and a 2/0 hook tied straight to the main line is the best yellowtail setup. You can free line those small strips of squid, ballyhoo, or bonita back in the chum until you get a bite. And the longer you sit there chumming, the closer those fish are going to get to the boat. Also, a small jig bait with a strip bait and also drift it back in the chum. That'll get bites if those fish are staying down a little deep. And these yellowtails, they've been averaging anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. And there's also been some big mangrove snappers mixed in. I got another photo here, and this is Kenny Kowal with one of many nice yellowtails that they caught last week down off Angelfish Creek.
All right, Jimbo, thanks for getting us started tonight on our lobster special. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what are we smoking fish dip from the southeast region. Jimbo says inshore, get out to the flats at sunup and look for the tailing permit and bonefish in the shallows. And then offshore, get anchored up on the reef at sundown with plenty of chum for some of those big yellowtail actions.
All right, now we're looking into the YANMAR ASB Keys region, live in person with Captain Sarah Stanzik. Tell us how it's done, Sarah.
I love lobstering. It's my favorite thing to do. I love fishing, but I love lobstering more.
All right.
So I'm glad to be here tonight. I've been looking forward to this episode, and here's some of my tricks and tips for lobstering. So I like to free dive for them, and I use a tickle stick and net is my personal favorite way of catching them. But you'll see a lot of people in the Keys use scuba equipment or go bully netting for them at night too, which is also fun ways to catch them. So there's several different options available. I take people on charters, so if you're not sure what you want to do, you can contact me and we can set one up. And I will say there is some technique when you're tickling a lobster out, so I can show you how to do that in a few minutes and give you some more tips and tricks. But here's a picture of me with some lobster. Big surprise.
We only take pictures with the big ones, as Jimbo said.
All right.
That's about as big as I get in the Keys, so.
I love them.
All right, so let's stay inshore. What do you got? Let's talk a little bit about tarpon.
We got some tarpon in the Keys now. We're steady into our summer months. They've been biting well lately. They put up a good fight. They pull hard. They do awesome jumps usually. They're really fun fish to catch. As for catching them, they'll eat many different types of flies as well as live and dead bait. So they appeal to a wide variety of anglers. For bait fishing, we use live crab or mullet, and we fish near the bridges or in the channels where there's good water flow. Here's a photo of a tarpon caught by Captain Ted Wilson.
Boy, that's a nice fish, huh?
Yep.
All right, let's roll offshore.
Offshore, the mangrove snapper are spawning down in the Keys, so a lot of people are targeting them right now because of that. They're easier to catch. They're really good to eat, one of my personal favorites. They're fun to bend the rod on for kids and families. Definitely one of my favorite fish to catch and eat. They're also really simple and easy setup for tackle. You just 20-pound leader with a small jig head and a live shrimp will have you hooked up to mangrove snappers all day. Also having a chum bag will help. If you're keen on getting in the water like me, you can easily jump in the water with a spear gun, and they're pretty easy to shoot. So I did that recently. Here's a picture of me with my mangrove snapper that I speared.
Nice. All right, one more species to go. Let's talk a little bit about mahis.
Mahi offshore, finally we're getting a more consistent bite. It's been hit or miss, but now it's been good the past week or two. We've had lots of fish around, from schoolies to some nice 40-pound gaffers I've seen come to the docks recently. So you'll want to head offshore and start looking for signs of them right around 500 feet deep on average. They can be in shallower than that or be way out deeper, but you can start at 500. It's just a good starting point. So you want to look for weed lines or marine debris floating, look for birds diving down, bait jumping out of the water, just signs of life. Live pilchards are a good bait to have, but also frozen squid or ballyhoo work well too. Just have a variety of everything is what I tell people is best. Here's a photo of a nice bull caught aboard the Relentless. And
Nice.
this is, if they put the second photo up, this is a picture of that same dolphin a few seconds later. So
as
it's really
he's changing
cool.
colors.
Yeah. Neat how they can do that. Camouflage.
I like it. So I got a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
So you got that big dolphin. You know, the last few years, the big dolphins seem to be coming later and later, more like August.
Yeah, or even like September,
Yeah.
fall.
So what if the Stanzik family? What do you guys think about that?
I like it because summer's over then and we kind of have the keys to ourselves. So
Right.
everyone's back in school, back to work. And I've had some really nice offshore days, just family and friend, in September, October. And there's still good dolphin fishing, like usually that time of year, decent dolphin fishing. So don't be afraid to take your vacation a couple months later and come down to the Keys in our off season, which is September, October, and try for dolphin then because we still catch them later in the summer and into the early fall.
All right, so we're not going to talk about lobster cooking tonight, but tell everybody what's your favorite way to cook a lobster.
Lobster mac and cheese, 100%. Lobster mac and cheese.
Big chunks.
Yes, chunk it up.
So let me ask you, I learned from the Bahamians when I was a kid, Sarah, that we boil the lobster tails in salt water. You agree with that?
I've heard of doing it that way. I never have. I should try it.
You should try it.
Yeah.
Because when you don't wash your fish in
Yeah.
fresh water, you
Yeah.
wash them in salt water,
Yeah.
right? So the same applies for lobster. Don't forget who taught you that.
Okay.
All right, it's time for the shallow sport boats, hot spots from the Florida Keys region. Our girl says, inshore, the tarpon bite is really steady around the channels and the bridges. Use live mullet or crabs and look for the good water flow. The outgoing tide is usually the best because the water's a little dirtier, guys. And then offshore, the mahi bite is good now with lots of schoolies, gaffers around, and an occasional slammer. Go offshore, look for the birds diving down on the bait in the weed lines, troll bait, or maybe you might want to be ready to cast into those areas so that you can get it all hooked up.
And come on down in September.
Hey, good job.
It's October. Good job, Sarah. All right, now for a little lobster PSA. Keys officials want everyone to have a safe, enjoyable, and non-impacting experience during the 2-day spiny lobster sports season and traditional lobster harvesting season. In the Keys, there is a limit of 6 lobsters per legal diver per day. Legal lobsters' carapaces must measure more than 3 inches and be measured in the water. Please avoid kicking or touching the coral, and as always, protect marine resources. Lobster harvest and boating safety regulations are strictly enforced in the Keys, so if you need more information, please head to keyslobsterseason.com. Easy peasy. It's all right there for you.
Absolutely.
All right, we're doing the lobster walk in the FISHBITES East region coming to you next, but first, Rick and Captain Sarah are doing the lobster talk at the Academy Sports and Outdoors, Rigs and Techniques at the CCA workbench, so get ready and we'll be right back.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Sirius XM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Real legends. Everything you need to live life local. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Stiffy, innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks.
Well, as you can see, we're here at the CCA workbench for the Academy Sports and Outdoors, and our good friend from the Florida Keys, Captain Sarah Stanzik, is here. Sarah, you certainly do lobster charters in the Florida Keys out of Isla Mirada.
Yes.
So why don't we just get right into it? What do I need to know? I'm not really big on lobstering. I'm not really big on getting in the water at all, but I'm gonna trust that you got me on this.
I got you.
Okay.
You remind me of Nick. Nick has a job when we go lobstering. He drives and I dive.
I love
He
it.
stays on the boat.
I love
Someone
it.
has to be on the boat though to watch out for everything. So
Well, he's definitely a qualified captain.
yeah, yes.
All
So
right,
speaking of staying on the boat,
Yes.
safety first, right?
Right.
Safety. So before I even leave the dock, I check a few things on my boat. I check my anchor, I check my shackles, make sure everything's tight. So you're gonna use your anchor and your chain. I check, need to have a dive flag on the boat. Make sure you have all of that in order, your flares, your general safety gear, because you will get pulled over. There's lots of officers working during mini season and lobster season. So have all your safety gear so you don't have to go back and ruin your day. So.
All right, so we get to our spot. Now
Yes.
we're gonna get in. So what do we need? What do we need before we get in?
Most important thing, before you get in the water, put your gloves on.
Put the gloves on.
So I like to use these D-vein gloves. They have a lot of protection on them, the rubber tops, so your knuckles are protected. But the lobster spines, Florida spiny lobster, their name, they will poke you. So you need a good pair of gloves, not the ones you're gonna get at like Publix or Walmart. Like go to a dive shop or somewhere good and like buy a good quality pair of gloves is my number one first tip. So good gloves. I like the D-vein ones, personally. And you're gonna need a snorkel, mask, fins, all your snorkel gear, of course, and then your tickle stick and net are your other tools you're gonna use. This is my favorite tickle stick on the market. You can get it at Divers Direct. And I like it because it has the built-in measuring device on the stick. So
you got to measure the board.
Otherwise, you need to like wear one on you or have one with you. So this is kind of it kills two birds with one stone. Like you just have it with you. And when you catch the lobster, you can just use it really quick and measure the lobster. You don't have to fumble and look for whatever. So I like having it right there on the stick. So
I got it. All right, so you're going to put that in your hand, and this is going to be in your hand.
Yes.
And then we got our little lobster over here. You see him over here by the tin cup?
Yep.
All right, so what are we going to do? How are we going to get this dude out of his little shelf here?
So lobsters like to be in or under structure. So you're gonna look for rocks, crevices. They're never really out in the open. So lobsters move backwards too. When they're afraid, they'll run away and they go backwards.
Kick the tail.
So they will walk toward you slowly. So you wanna get behind them with your tickle stick and kind of get behind their tail, but don't touch their head or anything because it'll scare them. So kind of like get behind them. Also, I like to tickle stick with the curved tip.
Right.
And then you can kind of touch their tail gently and get them to kind of walk toward you so they'll come out into the open.
Right.
And get them away from whatever they're under. Just try to get them out. But you don't want to jab them and it's called tickle.
Right.
So gentle, you don't need much to get them out. As soon as they get in the open, then the trick I tell people who have never done this before, charter customers, take your net, get way up above and behind the lobster like this.
Right.
So you're not going to come at them like that. You got to get above their antennas, behind their tail. Make sure your net is open, like how it is now.
Right.
Put it on the ground, sandy bottom, wherever you are. Drop it.
Perfect.
You can just let it go.
Now he's going to go in
here. Yep. You grab him with both your hands and swim back up because you're going to want air by then.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you spent all
You're
your
holding
time
your breath
tickling.
that whole time.
Well, these lobsters are safe because I can hold my breath for about 7 seconds.
Well, here's the other. If you book a charter with me, I go down first and get them out for you.
Oh.
So I do 3/4 of the work. So I'll get them out into the open, then you go down with the net and get them. So that's part of the deal.
Okay, now we've got our lobster in hand in our gloves, and we're going to put him in the bag. What's the most important part about the bag before you get in the water?
Make sure the zipper is closed.
All right, so we're going to put him in, did you tell me, tail first? So he's going in.
Yep.
Got a little trap door. Now he's
out.
down there, and now it's that. And then you told me a little trick about when you're diving with a buddy.
Yes, so you just caught that lobster, you put him in the bag, you're tired, and then, or whatever. You take turns. So whoever dove last holds the bag, you're gonna go down and catch the lobster next, then you hold the bag. So we take turns carrying the bag around.
All right, and then one last thing, we get back to the dock, we got all these legal lobsters. Now we gotta devein him. We wanna get the poop out of his tail so that we don't eat poop.
Yes, so this
how are we gonna do that?
This is the devein tool, and you can get these gloves and this on Amazon.
Okay.
Easy to get them, they come prime shipping tomorrow. So you got plenty of time to get them before lobster season. So we put this up
Yes?
Yes, and then you're gonna twist it and pull it
derriere.
out, and the whole vein, the nasty thing will come out with it, and it's just an easy way to clean the lobster without breaking antennas, and like this tool is made for that, so perfect.
You did so good. I'm impressed.
He's so proud.
I am. I feel like I got a new kid.
Now you gotta come catch lobster with me.
Okay.
Yes, he does. Make him
It's going
promise.
to take a force to get me in there, but I'll come.
Yes.
Go with Sarah. Go with
do
Sarah.
it.
All right, if you want a shot at some lobster dinner in the Fish Bites East region, you're going to want to check out the shallow patch reefs, according to Captain Mike Holliday. Tell us more, Mike.
Yeah, Brie, we're really fortunate. We have these amazing reef lines that run parallel to shore and hold a lot of lobster. They're in like 8 to 30 feet of water. So if snorkeling is your game, the reef off Peck's Lake, the reef off Bathtub Beach, and the stretch of reef that runs from South Beach in Fort Pierce all the way up to the Vero Cove, that shallow stuff holds lobster. If deep water is your game, we have the 6 and 8 mile reefs and all the artificial reefs you want to pick your way through. During the mini season, the first few weeks are going to be really, really busy. The crowds are going to be heavy, but you want to avoid them. You can avoid them if you want to by diving at night. That's when they come out of their holes and are out in the open, a lot easier to catch. And most of the guys are kind of creeped out about diving at night, so you won't get the heavy crowds. It can get pretty crazy during the mini season. So one of the things you really want to do, and Sarah hit on it a little bit, is make sure you have a diver's down flag at all times if someone's in the water, and make sure it's highly visible. Put it as high on the boat as you can get it, a biggest flag you can get as well, so anybody driving near can see the flag from a long way and know that they're supposed to go around you. As we get into September, the lobster will also crawl in my region. They just come out in the open sand and form a line. They're really easy to catch. That usually happens on one side or the other of a tropical storm. So just watch for the storms, watch for them crawling. You can do really well. Average lobster in my region is going to be 1 to 3 pounds. Now moving inside, the summertime snook bites heating up, particularly in the inlets and on the beaches. The fish are starting to move into the area to spawn. All the inlets are going to hold snook right now, as will the Lake Worth and Juneau piers. If you want to get on the beach, Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, Bob Graham Beach, and South Beach and Fort Pierce all have pretty good snook populations on them right now. Keep in mind that a lot of these fish are spawning, so try not to remove them from the water. It's catch and release only. Handle them with care. Let them go. Shoot a quick picture and let them go. Start your day throwing a saltwater assassin, copper juice, or watermelon magic 4-inch sea shad. And then when the sun gets up, you want to switch over to live pilchard or croaker or sardine. There'll also be a lot of big snook in the Loxahatchee and in the St. Lucie rivers. You can get them to eat a topwater plug or a live mullet or a watermelon magic, 4-inch sea shad. Average snook in my region is going to be 6 to 15 pounds. I got a big one there. Darlene Graziano caught that nice overslot snook. She was fishing with Captain Jimmy Walden out of Jensen Beach, and that fish ate a mullet head on the bottom.
Nice. All right, what do you got for us offshore, bub?
Well, the summertime sailfish bite remains outstanding, particularly off Stewart, where the top boats in last weekend's One More Bite Sailfish Challenge, all the top boats had double-digit releases on fish on Saturday. And when you're catching more than 10 fish, and you have multiple boats catching more than 10 fish, the bite's very good. The fish are getting ready to spawn, but they haven't grouped up yet. There's still plenty of action on singles and doubles. Seems like 100 to 150 feet of water is the magic depth right now. Watch for free jumpers and fish that are up on the surface. If you see that, just run to those areas and put out baits because you know there's already fish in that area. The best action's coming on live baits, goggle eyes, pilchards, sardines, and threadfins. But you can also troll, ballyhoo or strip baits and get the bite as well. When you hook a bait, try and keep other baits in the water in case there's other fish around, or cast live baits at the hooked up fish. Average sailfish right now is 40 pounds. I got a photo. That's one of me. It's the first of 3 sailfish that we caught in 130 feet of water off Stewart last weekend, and that fish ate a live threadfin. The other bite we got going, we've got a building moon all week and into next week. That's going to fire up the mutton snapper bite throughout the region. The best action will be in 110 feet of water from Palm Beach to Jupiter Inlet, as well as on the Loran Tower Ledge off Hope Sound and the 6 and 8 mile reefs off Stewart, and on the shallower, artificial wrecks or artificial reefs or old wrecks like the Halsey and the Amazon up around the power plant. The water's been clear, so you want to use a long leader, 30 to 50 feet at least, because the big muttons are really leader shy right now. For a bait, a pilchard, a sardine, or a threadfin, either live or dead, is going to work. Hot bait's been a grunt plug or a ballyhoo plug. The average mutton right now is 6 to 15 pounds. Guys are whacking them pretty good. I got a photo as well. Check out this nice doubleheader on mutton snapper. Those were caught in 85 feet of water on the Salty Days charter boat out of Port St. Lucie. The hot bait on them was a grunt plug.
All right, so what's the hot bait in your bass report this week, Mike?
Well, Headwaters Lake of Fellsmere remains one of the top bass destinations in Florida. And I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said the lake is pretty much in its summertime pattern. So you want to be on the water in the dark and throwing topwater plugs or Bass Assassin logger toads or prop baits. Work them until about 8 a.m. Work them either in the grass or on the edges of the grass. And then once the sun gets up, it's time to switch over to a green pumpkin, a black and blue, or June bug colored Bass Assassin rail worm or tap-out worm. And you can either rig them Texas style or Senko style, and then just start pounding that submerged hydrilla. That's where the fish are hanging out in the middle of the day. If you're looking for a big fish, he said to throw a large swim bait, like a bluegill flash-colored Boss Shiner or a hammer time colored die dapper. Work those around the edges of the grass. Right now, it's a 30 to 40 fish morning, and the average bass is 1 to 4 pounds. But every day, someone's catching, an 8 or 9 pounder. So Headwaters is still one of the top lakes in the country, guys.
Thank you so much. Great report this week, Mike. Really sounding exciting about all those sailfish. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H Marine East hotspots inshore. He said tarpon in the crossroad areas of Stewart use live mullet or thread fins on the incoming tide. And then offshore, wahoo off of Palm Beach in 220 to 320 feet of water use black and orange wahoo magnets and rig ballyhoo to catch those whoos, Brie.
Okay. It's time for our CCA Star update, which is a really big one. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
We are excited to announce the first official winner of the 2022 West Marine CCA Florida Star Competition presented by Yamaha. Yep. Congratulations, Jeff Moore, who caught a 22-inch Duke Energy Mariculture Center tagged redfish, tagged 2061 while kayaking on Saturday in Star 2022 Destination County, Punta Gorda / Englewood Beach. After being verified, Jeff has chosen the Pathfinder 2200 TRS powered by Yamaha. And remember, there are still 2 tagged Redfish Division boats up for grabs, the 22 Contender and the Spider FX19 Vapor. Get registered today at ccaflstar.com. I'm so happy for him.
I am
he was in
too.
a kayak and now he's got a boat.
Good job, Jeff.
That's awesome. All right, I'm so excited. We are headed west coming up next with your StarTron Central West and CASA VIEJA Southwest regions. Plus, we have a guest from Berkeley Fishing, so stay with us. And we'll be right back on the Florida Insider Fishing
Report.
Thank you for listening.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer. Coast to coast, we've got you covered. And GARMIN, plot your paradise.
Well, as you can see, joining me here at the workbench is my good buddy Steve Wolf from Berkeley Fishing. Steve, last year we introduced a whole line of topwater baits, but we're going to move a little deeper into the water column, so let's get right into it.
Absolutely. We introduced the Chapo, the Jaywalker, and then even like the floating magic swimmer. This year we want to get down in the water column, 3 to 5 feet, and we've got a series of baits that we're bringing to the table this year. So we're going to start off with the Juke. So we've got a Juke 100, which you have in your hand in a pilchard. We also have it in an 85, just a great tall, wide body forage-like bait that just looks like anything else you'd see in coastal waters.
So let me tell you what I like about this. You know, you and I spend a lot of time on the development and talking about what we need to do. What I really love about the Juke is how many times when you see small schools of finger mullet go by, you see them roll and flash on their side like this.
Exactly.
And this is what that bait does. And it'll also walk the dog under the surface and do, with enough slack, do a full 180 degree. Yep. What's next on our list?
So next, this is a very interesting bait. It's the hit stick. So it's got the flash disc technology on the bottom, serves like a keel. You can actually slow troll this if you wanted to.
Right.
It's actually made to slow troll. You can also work it and jerk it as a jerk bait or a slash bait or just a steady retrieve.
And it comes in 2 sizes?
It comes in 2 sizes. You're going to see a 95 in our new penny shrimp color, which is pretty cool.
Right.
And then you'll see it in a 120 as well. And we've
Nice.
tested these against some pretty big fish too.
I love it. Comes with a Fusion 19 hooks.
Yep.
Now we have the Berkeley stick shad.
Yeah.
The shape like a thread fin, a pilchard, whatever.
Absolutely. Great twitch bait. We're going to have it available in the 90, which you have. We also have a 114. You know, just a very well-known bait with amazing action underwater. We'll have it in floating, and we'll also have it in suspended as well.
All right. Then we also have the cane walker.
Yeah, we introduced this last year in the 120. We're bringing in a 110 now in 3-hook configuration. Same 10 colors that we have last year. So just a great little bait, a little bit more finesse situation, so you're not throwing as big a bait out.
All right. And then we have talked about the Chopo quite often here this year. Let's talk about all the hooks and hardware.
Right, so on the Cutter 90, we've got a Fusion 19 hooks, which goes across the board here. 3X strong hook. It's made to fish right out of the box, really sticky sharp. And we're gonna have this, you know, in the same 14 colors that you see here as well.
So speaking of the different colors, I want to show everybody at home all the different colors. We have a redfish, and we got a new penny, a pilchard, and then for your guys, chrome, chartreuse, gold chrome.
That's it.
Guys, you simply just have to go to Berkeley-Fishing.
Berkeley-fishing.com, and you can buy these online from us now. We're set up to sell direct to consumer, or go to your local tackle shop. It's all over the state of Florida. And $9.99, not too bad for all those.
Oh my goodness. Can you take my credit card now?
Right here, give me the number.
I know Brie will take the credit card, right, Brie?
I was just gonna say, I sure can. All right, well, the West Coast may not offer the lobstering quite so easy, but there are plenty of other options to fulfill your diving needs. So let's head into the StarTron Central West region and see what Captain Jeff Page has to say about it. Hey, Page.
Well, I first got to say that's a really good job you done, Wolfie, and I've been really excited throwing these new Berkeley baits. But we don't really have anything in the way of lobster other than stone crabs, but what we do have is some really good tarpon fishing that's still going on in the StarTron Central West. And I've gotten reports guys are catching them at night as well as during the day. First, the daytime, along the beaches, the same drill. It's a good idea, Rick, to maybe make sure you have crabs, thread fins, and pinfish in your well, because some days they're eating other ones better than the others. And some days you may want to cork them, some days you may want to free line them. But if you put your time in out there, you will catch the tarpons. And as we get into later in this month and beginning of August, it's not uncommon to get out there 200 yards off the beach and either put on your spot lock or drop your anchor and put dead baits on the bottom, and they work really well. The nighttime fishing has been good around the New Pass Bridge and the Longboat Pass Bridge with live silver mullet, and if you have to use a lure, that Berkeley Power Grub and the white paddle tail works real good on a half-ounce jig head, and you can just swim it down the shadow line. Got a photo tonight of Jesse Cannon with a really nice one of many he caught with Captain Billy Alstrom of Suncoast Fishing Charters.
All right.
Inshore redfish. You know, Rick, we get into July and we get into those afternoon thunderstorms, and it just makes the red fishing get better. I think that tannic water coming out of all the rivers and creeks, but definitely down south in Turtle Bay as well as Bull Bay on the higher tide along the mangroves and oyster bars, and then and the lower tide in the potholes and the drop-offs. Pretty much quarter-ounce gold spoon is going to be the best bet, especially with all the grass. But if you are able to throw a topwater, that Berkeley Jaywalker Chrome pattern in the 100 size, which is a 2-hook configuration, works real well. And then if you're into the live bait, it's tough to beat a corked, pilchard, or a pinfish because it keeps that bait from swimming down in the grass. Offshore, red snapper, 150 feet of water is probably the best number, but you can go in a little shallower or a little deeper. Standard bottom rig, you're going to want a mixture of live pilchards, pinfish, and frozen baits as well. I've got a really nice photo tonight of longtime friend Robert Howard. He's all grown up. He's got him a fiance. Her name's Mackenzie Campbell, and they're both of Sarasota. And my last species, wahoo, the water temperature keeps going up, and those wahoos are showing up 200 feet of water on out, and sometimes in. And what the guys are looking for, Rick, they're looking for temp breaks, they're looking for current rips, they're looking for hovering frigate birds, and they're going to troll lip plugs or at a basic speed, or they're going to high speed your cedar plugs and your faster plugs. And my last photo tonight is of longtime friend Eric Hernandez. He finally got him a big one, and he's the manager of Walt's Fish Market.
Oh, good for him. Great pictures
Awesome.
this week, Paige. Got a lot of big fellas and some big fish. But I do have a question for you there, Cap. My question is that normally you love the Jaywalker 120, but for whatever reason this week you reported about the Berkley Jaywalker 100 in chrome. Why the littler bait?
Well, we've had some slick, calm mornings where it's too rough for those big baits, and that 100 is a smaller profile. It's a quieter landing when it hits the water, and it's not a 3-hook configuration. I'm stealing big words from Wolfie.
All right, bud. Well, thank you so much. You did a good job tonight. I appreciate it. We're going to do our best to we'll have a stone crab show at the end of the year for you. I know that's big in your region. It is time for the Daiquiri Deck Central West Hotspots. He says inshore tarpon. Good beach fishing is still going on strong with early morning free line crabs or pinfish under a cork. And then you can live cork crabs on the afternoon outgoing tide around all those regional inlets. And then offshore, red and gag groupers consistent bite in 120 to 140 feet of water over the ledges and hard bottom areas. Use live pinfish and the frozen sardine. Brie, got a question for you. See if you've been paying attention.
I'm going to steal some big words. Go
All
ahead.
right. No, so he's talking about corking a crab in the afternoon. Why? I got you. The reason why, guys, is because when the outgoing tide in the afternoon, all the crabs are flushing out of the inlets. They call them hill tides in some cases when you got really, real big tides down in Boca Grande. So remember that. On the outgoing tide, this time of year, the blue crabs are flushing out because of all the fresh water.
Right.
That's part of the reason why they move.
Okay.
So the blue crabs is the way to go. Match the hatch, dudes,
Matching the
especially
hatch.
on
We're
the
all learning
outgoing
things
tide.
here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. All right, the Casa Vieja Southwest region is in the same boat when it comes to the bug life. But let's see what else lies beneath with Captain Ronnie Houston. Go for it, Ronnie.
Well, obviously, lobster's not common in the region, but I'll tell you what, there's been a great snook bite, and if you're an artificial enthusiast, I got a tip for you. I've been running the whole coast right now, anywhere from Cape Romano all the way down the Lofmans River, and I'm simply working a pattern. Outer Gulf Islands, especially on the mid-incoming through the mid-outgoing. And I'm basically using search baits like the Berkley Jaywalker 120s and the Berkley War Pigs, half-ounce on lower stages of the tide, 3/4 ounce on the higher stages of the tide, specifically fishing current. Now these fish seem to be staged up. Once I catch a fish, I'll power pole down. If I'm in more than 8 feet of water, I'll simply use the anchor mode on my Rodan and fish these schools. Now I can tell you what, there's a lot of oversized fish in these schools. I'm also using a Bass Assassin Die Dapper on a half-ounce jig head, and all I'm doing is throwing it out where these schools are, and I'm just using a steady retrieve. Now, like I say, the fish are schooled up. It's a great time of year. 50 to 60-pound fluorocarbons due to the fish inhaling the baits. So if you're looking for a trophy right now in artificials, work the pattern. Now's the time. There's a couple nice fish. I had the opportunity to fish with my brother over the holiday weekend. One of a couple of many caught fish in those schools. Second species is going to be the redfish. I've had the opportunity. I heard Jeff say he's fishing to Bull and Turtle Bay. So am I. That redfish bite has improved, especially on the lower stages of the tide. Early morning or late afternoon, and here we go, after the storms. I'm fishing points with muzzle schools, strictly using topwater walk-the-dog lures and bone and chrome. Now, Captain Corey McGuire is also fishing up that way to the north. He tells me that the fish have been on the deeper shorelines with shade on the higher midday tide. His favorite bait right now to do that with are free-line pinfish, and he likes to tail hook them is his favorite method, so it swims up under the trees. But you can also use cut mullet, pinfish, or simply chum, live pilchard. There's a couple nice fish caught while fishing with Captain Corey McGuire. The offshore side, the red snapper bite, that bite still remains great all through the region. And, for the last week and a half and into this weekend, we've had great weather and we have moderate winds. As long as you got these moderate winds, you can make the run. You want to start at depth of 130 and beyond, and limits are coming quick all through the region. You can use cut baits like squid, herring, live pinfish, being told 7 to 8 circle hooks, 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon, strictly fishing hard bottom, big or small, but you're looking for the bait stacks. There's a nice red snapper recently caught out of Estero while fishing with hog wild charters. Last species is going to be the red grouper. You want to get out for the red snappers? Bite still remains strong on the days where the wind and tide are together with current combined. Simply got to be in the depths of 85 to 105 feet of depths, hard bottom, anywhere from Marco to Fort Myers Beach. Here we go again. Moderate weather and beating the late afternoon storms by getting out early. 7 to 10 ounces of weight, and you got to be on the bottom. Cut bait's working well, as it's also best to alternate your baits to see what might be working to trigger the bigger fish. Squid, herring, cigar minnows, cut fin fish, or some guys to the north like to use bonita strips. I got a nice picture of a nice 24-pound red grouper caught while fishing with Captain with Mike Avedon. And before I close, I got to tell you, Paige, get rid of the chrome, go with the bone.
I love it, Ronnie. Before we get to the Caddy Can hotspot, so I do have a question for you, sir. The question is, you talking about the war pig. Certainly hot water temperatures, the fish are a little deeper. How do you like to work that war pig, the Berkeley war pig, bub?
Well, all I'm basically doing, I'm working in two ways. I'm getting out on some of these points. Once I find these fish, I'll either use a steady retrieve, and if the fish get off that steady retrieve, believe it or not, with the blunt nose on that war pig, I'll actually throw it out, and I'll use it in a jigging pattern. I'll let it sink to the bottom and rip it up. That way those rattles go crazy, and those snook can't resist that and attack that war pig. So a jigging pattern or a steady retrieve will get you a nice trophy snook right now in the Berkeley war pig.
All right, bud, thank you so much. I learned something there, Bree. I'm going to tell you, the midnight's on fire. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the Southwest region. Ronnie says that inshore tarpon, Mormon Key to Indian Key on the outer Gulf Islands, to about 6 to 8 feet of water on the lower tide phases, and then look for the schools and free jumping poons all over the place. I've seen it, I love it. Offshore, cobias and permit, Wiggins Pass to Redfish Pass, fishing wrecks out to 30 miles, live crabs for permit, and a variety of baits for the coast.
You know, Rick, I hope everyone's taking notes because this show is full of tips and tricks and everyone's learning something.
It really is.
I love it.
If I can remember which camera to look into, we'll all be better.
You know, it's okay. It's fine. All right, celebrating its 40th year, the Key West Marlin Tournament featuring $50,000 in guaranteed cash prizes is planned for July 20th through July 23rd at the Perry Hotel and Marina in Key West. In addition to spectacular fishing and prizes, the event features nightly festivities and an awards banquet. Entries are limited to 75 boats, so get registered now at keywestmarlin.com. All right, coming up, we've got your ALTA Equipment Northeast Region Captain at the helm, and Rick and Sarah have some Taka Marine new products to showcase at the CCA workbench. Stick around, we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by ALTA Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Fenwick, feel everything. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
So we're here at the CCA workbench. It's time to troll the edge with Taco Marine. And Sarah, we got new products. So I know that you just got a new Garmin watch, the Garmin Descent G1 Solar Smartwatch. You want to tell me about it?
Yes, this watch is amazing. One of the coolest things about it, the solar, it's because it charges with solar energy, so you don't have to charge it.
Is that right?
It says it's got 14 days of life right now, just from me driving here with my hand in the sun, coming, like the sun charges it. So you don't ever have to plug it in, which is great.
That's crazy. But if you do,
you have
got the ability here.
Yes, you have a charger for it. But
so what does it do? What else does it do?
So I specifically got this watch because I do free diving up and down.
Right.
So I wanted it to track how many times I go up and down, how long I'm at the surface, how deep I go, and it does all of that. It's crazy. It does your heart rate, it does everything. So you pair it with your app, to your phone, and you can see it. This data from one dive I did where I went 62 feet deep. I held my breath for 1 minute and 10 seconds. And you can go down to that whole day that I did dives, that session. You can see all the different dives I did, 33 feet, 58 feet, up and down, up and down. So it gives you all that data. It's crazy. It gives you, like, when you exit the water, it gives you...
We're going to lower that just a little.
Okay.
It's bothering us. Is that working better?
Now you can see all the data on it, how deep I was going, all the different dives. Yeah, it gives you all this crazy information when you exit the water, your exit point, a GPS waypoint. And if you're in the water and you see something cool or you lose something important, you can mark it and like save that spot and as a GPS coordinate. Wow. So it does everything. There's stuff it does I don't even know how to use.
Well, you'll know better the next time.
It's amazing.
Talk about it. All right, so we also have, because of Lobsters, oh, by the way, you can go to garmin.com to get more information about all the different watches. They have hundreds of models. The Lobster Slapper.
A great tool for lobster season coming up. I'll demonstrate this.
It's perfect. So now you can be down there in the water.
You have to wear a gauge with you in the water is the law. So you have to have a gauge with you. This is the perfect thing to wear. It doesn't get in your way. And you can put it on your boat easy. You can slap it to your tower leg or, it's just easy to store, easy to wash off. It's rubber. So great tool.
And where do we find it?
Lobsterslapper.com.
All right, we're gonna keep moving. So Starbright, Sarah, as you know, every once in a while, whether it's marine or RV, we have to clean the toilet if we're lucky enough to have a big boat.
Yes.
Well, Starbright has made some really cool toilet bowl cleaner, and it's very safe for the plumbing on the big boats as well as your RVs. The cool part is that I like that it won't damage any of your seals or valves. It's harsh. It's not a harsh chemical found in homes used in toilet cleaners and harsh wood. It removes all the stains and that water deposit, which you typically get around a lot of marinas. So if it's not available at a marine dealer, it's available on multiple online channels. That's starbright.com. One last thing. This is something that you guys could use certainly to tie up the broad-minded, and that would be the T&H Marine 3/8 25-inch premium braided line. And the reason why I chose this out of all the stuff that T&H Marine have, I love this because it already comes with the I-splice.
Yes.
And so many times we go and we get a rope or we cut one or what have you, and then you don't have your splice. It just makes life so much easier when you're going from the front cleat to the back cleat. Anything else that you can think of why you want a rope or why you want good toilet cleaner? We got about 15 seconds and I'm out of stuff to say. It's important to have both,
okay? You need both in your life. We'll end it with that.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. You saved Dave this week and saved
the
me.
Dave.
She saved the Dave.
There we go. Well, she
right.
sold me on that Garmin watch. That is awesome.
She did.
All right, I'm so glad my birthday's already passed. I would have asked for it.
Oh.
Maybe Christmas.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, well, when it comes to the ALTA Equipment Northeast region, Capt, Tom, and Derringer, Capt, that's a new one, is putting us on something red. So, Tommy, go ahead and tell us what that might be.
Yeah, Capt, I like that, Brie. That sounds good.
There we go.
We've got all kinds of red stuff here. We do have some lobster in the Northeast region offshore, but you know what? You got to dive deep. It sounds like Sarah can do that, so she probably wouldn't have a problem, but not too many people are really giving it a go around here. But, the lobster we do get, they're generally really big. But you know what else we have here, and they're really big as well, is the red snapper. With the short 2-day red snapper season coming up this weekend, I just thought we had to talk about it. There's a ton of red snapper on all the reefs and wrecks throughout the region, from as close in as 60 foot and then on out from there. There's going to be a ton of pressure on these fish this weekend with all the boats that are going to be out there. You're going to want to bring plenty of bait, live or dead, and chumming is going to be your friend. Once the reef has been fished a little bit, those snappers are going to get a little shy. So getting them fired up with some chum can come in really handy. Now, you can chum with pogies, sardines, cigar minnows, or whatever you can find. Now, I personally like to catch a couple of bonita on the way out and chunk those guys up for bait and for chum. It's hard for them to deny that stinky piece of bonita. Now, there's also some good-sized mangrove and mutton snapper out there in those same areas. Now, you can catch them in the same places, but most of those species of snapper are out a little deeper in that 120-foot plus range. Now, just remember, everybody, be patient, be good to your fellow anglers out there this weekend. I'm sure it's going to be quite busy. And good luck to everybody that's giving it a go. And I've got a picture here. Captain Robbie Joyner, he sent me this photo of his monster red snapper he caught east of St. Augustine. That is a giant there.
It certainly is. All right, what else you got offshore, Tommy?
Rick, man, kingfish. I got to talk about kingfish again briefly this week. The Ancient City Game Fish Association has their big Kingfish Challenge tournament this weekend. As we get closer to this full moon happening next week, those big kingfish, they're going to be hanging out along the beach, feeding on pogies and pretty much whatever else they can find. Now, slow trolling a live pogie or ribbon fish, either up top or on a downrigger, that's going to be the go-to setup. And guys, pro tip for everybody, with red snapper season and the kingfish stuff going on this weekend, you might want to get to the ramp extra early to try to find a parking spot. Now, moving inshore, guys, the redfish continue to chew this week. We have my favorite tide for this time of year this weekend. We have a high outgoing tide first thing in the morning. Those redfish are going to be feeding early before it gets too hot. The creeks in the north end of St. Augustine have been holding big numbers of small shrimp and small finger mullet, and those reds are going to be chasing them up along the banks. Just look for those redfish busting and toss a live bait like a mullet or a shrimp or even a mud minnow on an 1/8-ounce jig head right in front of those fish. Now, if the tide is still up, you can also toss a popping cork with those same baits along the grass lines. Now, I've had my clients tossing the Saltwater Assassin Elite Shiner to those busting fish with great success. It really mimics those little shrimp and the little mullet perfectly. And I've got another picture here. This is Erica Chatilla with her nice redfish that she caught with me in St. Augustine last week. Now, also inshore, guys, the flounder bite has been great the past few weeks. There's been a bunch of fish around and more fish around than I can remember over the last couple of years this time of year. With the influx of finger mullet, there's been plenty of bait for the flounder to feed on. I like to look for the small, little tiny runouts in both the creeks and on the ICW on that last little bit of outgoing tide. I'll look especially for those runouts that are holding the schools of bait, those little 1 to 2 inch mullet. The flounder like to lay on the bottom right under the bait in those areas. Now, my favorite live bait for the flounder is, of course, going to be one of those small finger mullet on a 1/4 ounce jig head, although they've been aggressive and they're going to eat just about any kind of live bait right now, or again, a Saltwater Assassin soft plastic paddle tail. Now, the flounder, they're still hanging out under the docks and around the rocks at the area inlets as well. Now, you can use the same baits I just talked about, but just make sure you're using enough weight to hold the bottom. And guys, I've got one last picture here. Our buddy Mallory Hendricks sent me this photo of a couple of really nice flounder that she caught in Jacksonville.
All right, man.
She's a mama now, too, getting out there. I'm proud of you. Proud of girl.
How do you know all this stuff about her, guys?
Instagram, man.
Oh, all right. Good job, mama. Keep up, man. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. I forgot everything's on the gram. Inshore redfish and flounder are out first thing in the morning and then on the outgoing tide in the creeks and throughout the region. Fish the banks and the deeper creek bends with live mullet, mud minnows, or shrimp. And then offshore, try those red snappers on all the reefs in the wrecks and 60 on out. Chum, if the fish get a little spooky, please be kind to your fellow anglers this weekend, Brie.
Please be kind. Please. All right, keep those flags up, divers. We're kicking into the GARMIN Panhandle region, and Real Legends region's coming right up. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, where everything is, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll see you soon.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by STARTRON. Start, run, and store with STARTRON. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Fenwick, feel everything. Strike Zone Fishing. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And YANMAR ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Welcome back. If you plan on lobstering in the GARMIN Panhandle region, it'll be worth the dive. Tell us how deep we have to go, Captain Pat Deneen.
Hey, Brie, I tell you what, the Panhandle, we're not really known for our lobster, but we do have some good lobsters to be caught. But the kicker is you got to go pretty deep. You got to make a fairly deep dive to catch them, 80 to 100 plus feet of water. The divers are going to need a good light and a tickle stick. Often those lobsters are going to be either right at the front of a hole or back up in the hole, so the light, lets you see them. Slipper lobsters or shovel-nosed lobsters, they're probably the most common and are found on natural and artificial spots. The best spots for shovel-nose are going to be the low-relief natural bottom areas with lots of holes where they often hang upside down right at the entrance of the hole. So if you look in the hole, don't look on the bottom. The shovel-nose are typically clinging to the ceiling of the hole. The Florida lobsters are going to be mainly found on natural bottoms in spots 100 to 130 feet of water. And the spinies are going to be standing on the bottom, usually with a hole behind them where they back up into. The timber holes off the bar, they're really consistent spiny lobster spots, as are the low relief natural spots, natural bottom off of Walton County. And if you're lobstering, you need to have a measuring device with you by law. But I have never seen a short or nearly short spiny lobster that was caught up here off the Panhandle. In fact, most of them are 6 to 10 pounders, with some 12 plus pounders being not uncommon. So we do have lobsters, but you got to put in the effort to get them. And of the two lobsters, I think the shovel-nose tastes better. So unfortunately, they're more numerous. Staying offshore, the red snapper fishing continues to produce. There's plenty of snappers being caught throughout the Panhandle on structure in 70 plus feet of water, and also in the bays, particularly Pensacola Bay. The smaller bottom spot seems to be producing some of the bigger fish. So don't overlook, small chicken coops, small wrecks, just a very, very isolated bottom spots can have those better snappers. But you don't need private numbers to catch quality snappers. Many are being caught on very public locations. There's lots of reefs and wrecks that were built by public funds, and even though they're fished heavily, they still have good snapper on them. You just have to lighten up your terminal tackle and use good live baits. The snappers are running up to about 20 pounds. And then moving inshore, the tarpon fishing has been excellent, to say the least. Light winds and clear water have made it a pleasure, although we have had some rains that are a little bit troublesome, but really we have no wind, so it's been really calm in the Gulf. I've been using 60-pound fluorocarbon for the bite tippet. We get chafed off some, but it's worth because we get more bites. Live herrings and alewives are the bait of choice, but we catch plenty on cigar minnows. And when you're fishing them, stay off the fish. Don't run your outboard. Don't cast into the middle of the fish. You got a whole lot better luck by just being easy on them and you give them a hands-off approach. Bigger fish are starting to show up, with many well north of 100 pounds. And there's a photo of Luke Tanner from New Mexico. He fishes with me every year. He's caught a ton of tarpon. That's the first one he's caught, Rick, on a fly. And it was a good one. We taped him, and it was 103 pounds. So Luke was pretty stoked with that one.
That's a good one to be stoked about, bub. Good job guiding. I know how hard that is.
Hey, man, Rick, finally staying inshore. This hot, calm conditions, excellent for triple tail fishing. And the triple tail fish in Apalachicola is as hot as the weather. In the bay, look for them around the day markers, the crab floats, etc. And even if you don't see them on the surface, you can often prospect a boat by or prospect a bait by a crab float or whatever's on the surface. Many times those triple tails are down below where you can't see them in that dirty water. Live shrimp and peanut fogies are the bait of choice. Put your bait on 2 or 3 feet below a float. Use 30 to 40 pound leader and a quality 3 to 4 aught circle hook. And the triple tails can range over 12 pounds, but most are in that 2 to 4 pound range. It's been really good.
Pat, it's story time. I want you to tell. People didn't believe me when I said last week that you and I caught a red snapper on a chicken bone one time.
Man, I got called out the other day at the dock. The same story. I said, man,
tell the story. Just tell the story.
We were looking for that little spot, and the camera guy was eating chicken. Threw chicken overboard. The fish were up eating the chicken, and next thing you know, we got a red snapper.
I know. I tell people that, and they go, don't believe me. And I remember that we had to leave that spot after we probably caught 6 or 7 because the sharks moved in on us. And that we could see the beach. That was what was crazy, Brie, how shallow it was.
There was a camera guy, so did he get it on film?
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Okay,
but
well,
you gotta pay. You gotta pay to see that.
Oh. We don't
right,
do that.
Right, Pat? We don't just sell our souls unless you want to pay.
All right, well, everything's on Instagram, so let's see it.
Everything's on Instagram. She on Instagram to pay. All right, Pat, thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, Panama City, Halfway, and Tyndall Bridges for the afternoon bull redfish bite on live baits and topwater plugs. And then offshore, free line a live sea garmino or a herring, while the bottom fishing for big Spanish mackerels.
Producer just goes, "Oh, is he French now?" Yes, he sometimes comes out with accents every now and then.
Just
All
like
right.
you.
True, but I'm better at them.
You haven't had any in a long time. What's up?
Coming up soon, you'll get a
there it
chance
is.
to meet Captain Rick Murphy of Blue Water Outriggers at 121 West Highway 98 in Port St. Joe on
Don't you
July
know.
16th from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. What are you going to be doing there?
We're gonna be talking about
Chicken
inshore
bones.
fishing, offshore fishing. And the cool part is, Brie, that during the middle of this 5-hour seminar that we'll be there, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna have lunch.
Oh,
You know,
your favorite
you
part
don't
of
get
the
to eat
day.
lunch with Ricky Dicky every day.
Not every day.
It's gonna
I
be
wonder what
fun.
it's going to be. Well, I just want to say I love your shirt, your Real Legend shirt that's going
thank
on
you.
right now.
Thank
It's
you.
like you're in the water, but you're not in the water. It's
know,
great for
'cause
you.
we know.
I love that for you. All right, well, it's time to suit up and get ready for the dive of your life in the Real Legend Central East region. And I'm going to let Captain Jim Ross tell you why. Go for it, Jim.
Well, divers in my region are looking forward to this upcoming Sportsman season, and it's just a little prelude or predecessor to the regular season that opens up, but it's always a big time. But the really cool thing about the Central East region is we have some really big bugs in this region. So if you plan to tangle with any of these lobster, be prepared to have a bit of a fight on your hands. Most of our lobsters start at about 2 pounds. Some of them can grow over 10 pounds though on our 70 to 90 foot reefs. And free divers can usually find fish a little bit closer to the offshore reefs than the offshore reefs out of Sebastian and Vero Beach. Some of those reefs are in as little as 10 feet of water, and you can actually access them right from the beach itself. The shoreline reefs are perfect for snorkelers and free divers, and so you don't even need a boat if you want to go catch a few bugs and bring them home for dinner. Now I've got a picture here of Jimmy Williams with an 11-pound lobster that came off of Pelican Flats. Jimmy is a rock star when it comes to diving in the Central East region. He also sent me a second picture here of one that's laying on his dive tank.
What? No,
Yeah.
no way.
That thing could attack him and eat him.
So I say you got to rub some MAN on yourself if you're going lobstering around here.
Yeah, Rick, rub some
I might have to use that later when I get home, dog. All right, man. Tell me what else
And the
you
red
got going
snapper.
on.
Guess what? We got our 2 red snapper days, Friday and Saturday, and you actually get to keep one this week in the federal Atlantic waters. So it's really cool. Almost any piece of structure outside of the 90-foot reef line is going to hold these fish. Live baits, vertical jigs, large cut baits are all really good on day 1 of the season. And on day 2, the fish are going to be pretty beat up. So you're going to have to try and get a little more tricky about it, a little more stealthy about it. Small baits, even jumbo shrimp on a smaller leader and a smaller hook will work. This usually gets you more bites. Typically than your average, larger baits that we have a tendency to run out there and use. The average red snapper in our region is running about 8 to 15 pounds right now, and you can bet there are going to be some bigger ones that will come to the dock. Swinging inshore, Rick, tarpon on the beaches, the lagoons, the creeks, they're everywhere right now. They're in the Real Legends region, and most of the creek fish are running less than about 40 pounds. They're chomping on small pilchards and fingerling mullet that are holding in places like Sebastian River, Turkey Creek, and the O'Galley River. Turnbull Creek up in the north end of the region as well has got some tarpon in it. The small, soft plastic assassins that look like little glass minnows, little speckled perch-sized baits, or small live baits are going to get these fish to bite for you. Most of the lagoon fish are running from, 40 pounds, under 40 pounds. But I had one just the other day that was 140 pounds. It was a really big fish. So there are some nice ones around, especially around the dredge holes, the deeper flats, and the ICW channel in the Indian River. You want to fish near schools of pilchards or menhaden, if possible, where you see these fish rolling and you can see the bait fish flipping on the surface. Just free line the bait fish out there and it won't take long. The tarpon will get it and you guys and gals will be hooked up pretty quickly. Now on the beach, most of the fish right now are in less than 15 feet of water and they're holding real tight to the beach. The water clarity is not all that good, but in areas that the water clarity is good, you can actually sight cast them. We were actually sight casting fish today. Both of the fish that we landed today, we sight cast to them as they were cruising down the beach. Most of these fish are running you know, 70 to 80 pounds, up to, you know, about 100 to maybe 110. And I've got a picture here of one of the fish that we landed in the Banana River the other day. And you can see there's some pretty good sized ones in the lagoon right now. Jeff is about 6'2" and about 300 pounds. So.
You got about 20 seconds left for the shark, Jim.
Gotcha. Well, sharks, you know what? That's all I need is 20 seconds because they're everywhere. They're in the coastal waters. They're in the lagoons. We've got bulls, fine tooths, and hammerheads and sandbars. If you want sharks, live baits, and especially cut baits right now on a piece of wire, and you can get you one just like this one that Jeff caught while we were tarpon fishing just the other day.
Man, thank you so much for all the pictures and keeping us straight this week, Jim. We appreciate it very, very much.
We appreciate you.
Anytime.
All right,
anytime.
man. Thanks for bringing up the rear end of this train. All right, bud, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots for the Central East region. He says inshore, tarpon in the creeks and the deeper sections of all 3 lagoons use live pilchards, mullet, or pogies on a 7/0 circle hook. And then offshore, red snappers on all the area reefs and wrecks use live pogies, croakers, or grunts for those larger fish, Brie.
All right, Rick. Well, I believe you have something to say about Yamaha right about now.
I absolutely do. You know, Brie, a few weeks ago, we did this deal. A lot of the older boats now of the gauges, because of the sun and the wear and tear, and as guys are repowering, Yamaha came out with some cool new retro gauges. Check them out.
Let's see them.
For you guys that have older model boats and older model Yamahas, it may be time to upgrade your gauges to go along with your mechanical motor. Just recently, Yamaha started shipping their new individual analog gauges. These gauges are affordable, durable, and accurate with great appearance options that give you the style and the feel you're looking for. Many skippers of today's mechanically controlled Yamaha outboard powered boats prefer to use analog gauges to customize their dash while providing basic engine and boat information. For them, Yamaha has created analog gauges that are stylish and precise. These new combinations of gauges from Yamaha are for the boats that do not have console space for a full array of analog gauges. These gauges are available in either classic or sport. Each line is available with 4 different face bezel combinations for even more personal customization. Each line features a standard 4-inch 50 or 75 mile per hour speedometer, a 7,000 RPM tachometer, and matching 2-inch size fuel, trim, water pressure, and voltmeter gauges. You might be the kind of boat owner that appreciates the phrase, bury the needle. If you're less of a fly-by-wire or more of a fly-by-the-seat of your pants skipper, or like me, maybe you like the old school look and feel of analog gauges. Either way, Yamaha's got you covered.
All right, well, it's time to get your gear ready. We're seeing what the Discover Crystal River Northwest region has in store for us next, right here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We'll be right back. Yeah, cruise.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shallow Sport. Penn. Let the battle begin. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today's Power Pull tip is about the new Power Pull Charge power management station. The cool thing about the Charge is it replaces 3 systems on your boat. It replaces your traditional 3 or 4 bank battery charger, so when you're at the house, you plug it into the wall. The Power Pull Charge is going to optimize and balance your batteries like nothing ever out there. It also replaces your on-the-run charger, so anytime you've got the Yamaha running, it's going to replace the power in your trolling motor batteries and your cranking batteries all day while you're running from spot to spot. And the third thing it does, it's got an emergency start feature in it. So if you're ever out there and your cranking battery dies and you can't get the motor started, go to the Sea Monster app, transfer the power, and you're good to go. Get back to the dock. For any more information about the Power Pole Charge, you can go to powerpole.com or stop by one of your local dealers. That's your Power Pole tip.
You gotta be charged up. All right, in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region, what? The deeper you go, the bigger they'll be. So let's see what Captain Jeff Hageman is charged up for this year's lobster extravaganza. Go for it, Hag.
Well, first of all, wish you a happy birthday.
Thanks.
Our July 4th baby.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Lobster can be found in my region, in the lower half of my region, but you're going to have to go deep to get them. Tank dives. Most of the guys that catch them are usually out there spearfishing in anywhere from 60 to 120 feet of water. Lobster are generally a lot bigger out there. You're going to find them 5, 6, 7, 8 pound lobsters out there deep. We also have two different kinds of lobster we catch out there. We catch the spiny lobster that everybody's used to catching down in the southern part of the region, or the southern part of the state, excuse me. But we also have bulldozer lobster or slippery lobster. A little uglier, but they do eat very well. They actually look like a bulldozer, and their nose dives down. They can be caught on ledges, reefs, and wrecks, like I said, out past 60 feet of water. And staying offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports gag grouper bite right now. He's been catching them in 200 to 250 feet of water. He's typically finding them on hard bottom ledges right now, fishing 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 10 ounces to 12 ounces of lead, 8 to 10 ounce circle hook. Live baits have been working best, and dead baits are also working pretty damn good too. Joe, I got a photo here from Joe from Stuart, Florida on the Big Nasty with a nice gag grouper.
That is a nice gag. All right, what else you got for us, Hag?
Moving inshore, scallop season has kicked off. I know lobster season is getting ready to kick off, but scallop season kicked off. Gary Bartels out of River Tour out of Ozola Keys Marina says that the 2022 scallop season has started off great, plentiful right now. Looking at tall turtle grass beds northwest of Bird Key and Ozella in 4 to 6 feet of water. He said, take your time looking through the grass on the outgoing tide and get that grass facing the right direction so you can see down in the grass and it's not pushed down on that incoming tide, and that's where you're going to find most of them. A lot of small scallops right now, but there's no size limit, so toss those small ones back, get the bigger ones. There's still plenty of big ones out there you can get to. Leave them small ones to reproduce for next season. And I've got a photo here from Captain Gary and his clients on opening day and his family with their boat limit and their first ever scallop adventure. So it can be your first time, and you can limit out pretty easily. They'll clean them for you right there on the river, and you can enjoy a great
So what is the limit?
Tell
me what the limit is before we move on to the next thing.
You're allowed a 5-gallon bucket per boat per day.
All right.
That's correct.
That's with 5 people, I guess, right?
Yes, 5 people or more.
All right, go ahead. Tell me what else you got happening.
Captain John with Captain JB Charters out of Apalachicola reports the speckled trout bite has been good in the Apalachicola River. The bite has been best on the top of the tide. They're feeding good on shrimp and pogies. They've been hanging out on oyster bars and edges of the marsh. Said keep an eye out and fish those points and tide break ledges. And that's been his tip for catching most of those trout. And I've got a photo here from Captain John of a beautiful Apalachicola trout.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. He says that inshore, snook along the beaches and the passes on the incoming and the outgoing tides using pinfish, sardines, and sardines free-lined. And then offshore, mangrove snappers on any high relief structure in 20 to 60 feet of water use shrimp or small sardines free-lined on a knocker rig. You know, Brie, we got through his report rather quickly, but because he was talking about scallops, I thought it'd be really cool. You know, that's about the only type of water that I'll get in. You know, because it's shallow, it's not a lot of volume of current. I don't, you know, I'm not too scared about the big sharks and whatnot. But one thing I did learn from Mario when we were there filming last year is if you'll swim into the current where the grass is laid over. So here's the current laid over this way. If you'll swim, into the current or even sideways to the current, it allows you to look underneath the grass. And that's a lot of times when you'll see them.
Yep.
because of the blades are being laid over.
Yep.
What's
so
your favorite
a good
thing
pair
about
of free diving fins is actually really great in that situation. Obviously, especially if it's higher water too. Using 4 to 6 feet of water, right?
Right.
So when you dive down, obviously your fins are a little big, but it helps you swim into the current and see those scallops down there. I'm so excited. My daughter can finally snorkel.
Snorkel.
She's gonna be getting them this year.
I can't
All
wait.
right, lobster hunters. Mia, and huntresses. That is it for our reports, and we wish you luck on whatever you plan on diving for, scallops, lobster, in the coming weeks. But stay with us because we're telling you what we'll be on the lookout for next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Look, it's Cruz. All right, next week we are talking redfish. I wonder who's gonna be excited about that. I know Rick will be. I don't know where Rick went, but you know, we're gonna practice our lobstering skills here. And oh, look who it is. It's Lobster Rick. Go get him, Sarah. Wait, oh look, he measures. Keep her. Anyways, have a good weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you guys for coming.
Bye,
You
Sarah.
guys did great.
That was funny. You weren't raising.
I wasn't raising?